season premiere of Manifest. We'd hit our screens here in Ireland and the UK last night, July the 30th on Channel Sky 1. And Melissa, can you tell us a bit about Manifest? From what I gather, it's a bit like Lost, Final Destination, and a bit of drama all combined into the one.
Yeah, Manifest is a whirlwind for sure. Basically, it centers on two siblings that branches out into everyone else's lives as well. But we initially start with two siblings, myself, who I play Michaela, and my brother Ben. And we're on a trip back from Jamaica with our family, and our flight disappears. And when we land, we discover that it's 5.5 years later. We come back to discover that everything is different. My fiance married my best friend. My mom passed away. My brother's wife has remarried, and so things are a little bit different. And it's all about us putting our lives back together and trying to figure out what happened to us.
Yeah, and I suppose, Melissa, from what I gather about Manifest, it delves into, we all know about the Malaysia flight that went missing, and we all know a bit about the Bermuda Triangle, but it delves into sci-fi. It's about time travel as well. For these people it only seems a half an hour, but everything's propelled into the 5 years later, and your character comes out to a complete, maybe alternate world that she was unfamiliar with.
Sorry, it's a little bit hard to hear. Say that one more time.
Your character, Miss Melissa, your character Michaela, when she gets off the flight, it's almost like a parallel universe that she's landed into.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been obsessed with things like Bermuda Triangle, and then for me, this is like Malaysia 370, that flight that just vanished out of thin air. And I've always been curious to see what actually happened to those planes and boats, and where did they go. And so for me, this is why I got excited about this project. It's about these people who reappear out of nowhere, and it's been 5.5 years, and so everything is completely different. Like I said, her fiance got married to her best friend. There's different dynamics in the world. You can cell phones even, so we'll have a lot of catching up to do, and we're not accustomed to all the changes that have slapped us in the face.
Yeah, and I suppose, Melissa, can you tell us how you wound up getting cast in the role as Michaela Stone in Manifest?
For me, it was a nice surprise because I really didn't think that I was going to get it. And for anyone who knows the audition process for getting a role, it's usually pretty difficult. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, and they make you do a million different auditions for the one role. But weirdly enough, this was the easiest process that I ever went through. I had my first audition, and I had fallen in love with the script, not only for the mystery aspect of it, but Jeff Raker, showrunner, wrote some beautiful, complex characters. Michaela was kind of a hot mess in that first episode, and I fell in love with her immediately. So going into the audition, I was just, crossing my fingers, but never thought that I would actually get it. And then, a couple of weeks later, it was mine. And weirdly enough, I had just moved down from Vancouver, Canada, my home. And the next day, I got this audition, and I was supposed to turn it down. But when I read it, I was like, I can't turn this down. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, I suppose, Melissa, one thing that strikes me about Manifest as well as once the whole journey and the whole adventure, when they land, we get propelled into a sort of a sci-fi sort of showing remembrance of the 100 that was on, where people that came off the plane developed new sort of senses, and no tour can be helped in your character that the senses you develop now help you in relation to your line of work as a police officer.
So to answer the question properly, the line has been complete, but we develop these weird superpowers almost, and none of us are sure why we're getting them, but we refer to calling. I think we start aiming at that in up 2 or 3, but we have voice, whatever, but we're experiencing something telling us what to do. And so at first start freaking out. Obviously this is not a whole thing by any means, and so that's where that sci-fi aspect comes in. And it does, being a cop, it kind of helps me solve that first case in episode 1. But then as the series goes on, we kind of begin to discover that there's a bigger picture for it, and it all of us on the plane have been connected to do something, and we're trying to figure out what. But not only are we back, we're trying to figure out what happened to us, but we're also trying to figure out why we're experiencing these strange things, what the purpose of all of it is. And as it develops, it kind of just like gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and Melissa, could you bring our audience through what a working week on set in relation to Manifest would be like, from the time you get sit around and you get the table read for one episode to actually shooting an episode? How long does that take? Would it be a 7-day process, or would it be much longer?
It varies from show to show, but we're doing about 8 to 9 days. And some TV shows have the time to do table reads. Unfortunately, we're moving quite quick, so, and I'm going to have to dive into the next episode as soon as we're done the 1-4. So, typically we'll just start the next one right away. But our set days are Monday through Friday, and we're doing 15, 16, sometimes even 17-hour work days. So we're pretty tired by the end of the day and come home and crash and then get up for the next one. So not as glamorous as some may think, but thankfully we have an amazing cast and an amazing crew, and the bosses are all equally as awesome. So we're pretty blessed to work with scripts, which makes it easier. And we're also just having fun.
Yeah, and I suppose, Melissa, we getting to know some of the cast members, and there is an all-star cast there with yourself, Josh Dallas, J.R. Ramirez, Tina Karkanis, but there's also 191 people that were on that flight, so that gives multiple storylines and the opportunity for multiple seasons ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, we focus on a small group, but every once in a while we get to kind of peek into some of the other passengers' lives, and they definitely play a significant part of uncovering history. I know that we might meet Curtis, is his real name. Sorry, I'm blanking. It's been a long time. But we meet a couple of the other passengers as the season goes by, and they play a key role in helping us figuring out what's going on. We even realize that some of the passengers are being abused to figure out what happened by people not on our side. So, there's a lot of people in play, the stories that we're going to dive into for sure.
Yeah, and I suppose, Melissa, in relation to, you mentioned there, you said it gave you a deep sort of fascination into the workings of what happens in relation to aviation and the airplane industry, and as sort of being on a sort of show like Manifest, as you got a real sort of greater appreciation for what the devastation that can happen in relation to aircraft tragedies.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, my grandpa was actually a Concorde pilot, so growing up, he told me all the horrors of what can go wrong on an airplane, first of all. So, stop and landing, and not planning or traveling correctly. And so he's given me a bunch of horror stories that have definitely spooked me. But for me, there was also this fascination of, you Google Malaysia 370 from your triangle, and there's just story after story after story of things. These planes that just disappeared. So my curiosity is completely sparked by that, as far as where the heck you guys go. So, we have a few flashbacks of us in the plane, and there's moments for series that kind of lead us. I'm trying not to give away too much, but not to lead us into the history. And so I do have a huge appreciation for aviation.
30 seconds, we'll turn it over to your character, Michaela Stone. We've already seen episode 1 here in Ireland and the UK in relation to Manifest. We might turn it over to Michaela and she might tell us why in the next 30 seconds we should tune in next week for episode 2 of Manifest. Over to you, Michaela Stone.
We get to see a bit more of the tense relationships that unfold between Michaela and Derek, between Grace and Ben. We see a bit of like get a bit more into the mystery of where we went, and we start to kind of dive into more of the callings. But honestly, I mean, looking back on season 1 for me, there's not one episode where I was bored. It's a completely out show of drama and mystery so that I never watch.
Yeah. On that note, Melissa Roxburgh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airways this evening to look ahead to Manifest, which is debuted here in Ireland and UK on Channel Sky 1. We do encourage all our listeners to tune in for episode 2 of what is only season 1. We're sure there's many more seasons to come in Manifest, and we do wish you, Melissa Roxburgh, all the best in your future.